Hey, hello everyone. Welcome to the Helm Dev call for Thursday, April 12th, 2018. For anyone who's new or watching this for the first time, we start off with some announcements, then we go into our stand-ups from each of the core maintainers and anyone else who is reporting out on something they're working on with Helm, and then we'll go into some discussion. And so let's start off with the announcements. I didn't think we had any listed. Were there any that anyone wanted to bring up?
Is the survey still up for AppDef?
Oh yeah, Farina. Do you want to just say that one more time for everyone?
Yeah, so we are currently doing a survey, and I'll go take out the link here while other folks are talking, that collects stuff about how you're using Kubernetes to run applications and build applications for. And so if you have a few minutes or you know people in your company who should be taking this, please send it on to them. So that way we can collect as much data as possible. All of the results, the raw data, will be made available to anybody who wants it. It'll be publicly available, along with some of us giving an analysis of it. So this is useful in taking it and in sharing it. And it's open for another week.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. I think that's all for announcements. We'll go ahead and get started with stand-up. I'll just go first. So this last week I was working mostly on PRs. We managed to knock out quite a few. We're still suffering a little bit from the knockout 1, 2 more pop-up issue. And so that's not a bad thing, but we do have a lot of PRs coming in through the queue. So we're trying to get through those as fast as we can. Sorry if you're waiting on anything. And then this week, I will be doing a little bit more PRs. During next week, I'll be a little bit busy with some things. So I won't be able to do as much, but I should be able to finish out the week working on some. So I'll pass it off to Justin.
Yeah, I've done very little. I think I put some labels on some issues, probably. I'm really busy at work. I'll probably have another week that I'll be preoccupied, and I'll be back. So that's for me. Fisher?
Hey. So this last week, I was mostly working on the release, and like Taylor said, there's just been an influx of a large amount of stuff coming in through the stuff, which has actually been really nice because we're actually getting feedback on the release candidates, which is fantastic. People are finding bugs, they're submitting issues, and then we're able to go through the release checklist to figure out if there's actual bugs before we cut and release 2.9. So I think that is great. The problem is that now that we're finding these bugs, because there is people are finding quite a few in the sense of like instability. We're just like slogging along on that. Anyways, so the only things that I had for this week is that I was issue Sherpa, so I was trying to aggressively close anything that was kind of like duplicate issues, because I noticed a few that were like the connection refused. Bare metal clusters seems to be like a very common issue that I'm seeing happen, like pop up maybe once every 2 weeks, just probably with the docs there. So maybe there's something that we need to address in like upstream Kubernetes documentation about how that's supposed to be set up. But that's about it for major like things that I've noticed over the last week. Other than that, just going through like with Taylor and with everyone else to triage the issue queue and see if there's a few more bugs to fix before we cut an RC4. And then also, hopefully, if we can have a discussion about this, I wanted to have a discussion about if we should cut a release candidate 4 from master, because while this has been going on, we've been cutting release candidates for the last week or week and a half. There's been a lot more activity and PRs merged with a couple of features actually as well, which might be useful to get into a release. So just talk about that in discussion. Pass it off to Butcher, who's walking back in. Perfect timing.
That was good timing, wasn't it? Yeah, so I've spent the last week wearing my operator hat and working on Kubernetes clusters. If you need, this is my operator hat. So Yeah. So I had a major cluster outage, so I had to spend a bunch of time dealing with that. But I did get a couple things done on Helm. One of them is I did a little bit of light at Taylor's prompting, some light reviewing on PRs. And then the other one was I added to the Helm 3 proposal some stuff about strengthening up the way that the signature verification is done to try and make signing of packages closer to the default behavior, both when you're generating and when you're testing packages. So I know Adnan commented a little bit on that yesterday, and I need to go back and read. You did too, Farina? Yeah, so I need to go back and read up on those. But I'm trying to figure out a way to make sane security defaults for signatures, which will mean that repositories will more likely need to do some legwork to set up their signing keys, but hopefully it'll be just like bare minimal stuff. So anyway, so if you want to take a look at that PR, it's in the Kubernetes Helm community repo. I think that's it for me. I'll pass on to let's see, Adam. Do you need my pizza hat?
Yeah, I like the hat. I need to find one of those. I could use a new hat. So yeah, I've been sick, so I've been kind of not doing Helm stuff. The stuff that I was doing before that I got to hop back on is just kind of doing some POC work around the Helm 3 proposal. Also looking at how we can refactor out some of the gRPC stuff to make it an easier transition for going to a client-only architecture. So that's about it for me. Let's see, Michelle.
Hey, yeah, haven't done too much this past week. Just following up on some issues from my issue Sherpa week the other week. But other than that, nothing really. I sent the request in for the Helm cartographers mailing list, so we should have that relatively soon and that's the mailing list for charts and Helm maintainers. That's it for me. I'll pass it to Brian Hardock.
Yeah, not much to report this week. I haven't been super active on Helm in the last week and a half, so I'll kick it over to Farina.
So I've been working on one interesting thing. I was comparing memory use and performance and allocations of YAML parsing and JSON parsing. And I'll be posting that probably later today. I think my results are in good enough shape. The brief summary is the YAML parser we use is the worst in memory use. If you went with Go YAML, it uses about half the memory to allocate the same thing. By the way, for reference, I used a 200 when I was doing this, 210 meg YAML file. 230 meg YAML file in order to really boost the memory on this to see what the worst case scenario is. I know we're not going to get there, but the memory on Go YAML was about half as much. What was interesting is if you look at the YAML library we use now compared to the JSON parser using the same structure we use for the way our objects are defined in Helm today, it uses 10 times the JSON memory if it were a JSON file and parsing it. 10 times the memory to do the same thing. So there's obviously some optimizations and stuff under the hood here, but pretty much our YAML parsing is the worst case scenario. So when we're talking about the memory and stuff, that's one of the things going on. It might be worthwhile looking at a better YAML parser for Helm going forward if we're going to keep with YAML, maybe something that's better on memory, or switching over to JSON files for like an index.json for V2, or if we do index files, but to look for something there because just the allocations and memory and everything is just, I mean, it's the 10x difference. So you start with how benchmark is generated bonus. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm trolling.
Please troll me. In fact, I'm going to post the raw stuff that I did with directions so somebody else can look at it and see if they can find a better way. I'll try and post all of the details up there. This was just my I wanted to go take a look at what was going on and with all the stuff that came out of JFrog. So more RAM won't save you from context exceeded. Yeah. I was
We're
trying to
collectively trolling you now.
You're collectively trolling me. I was trying to get into the whole thing of where JFrog was talking about memory use when we're adding index.yaml and repos and the time and memory it takes and looking to understand what was going on there. Yeah, there are easy ways to troll me. It's not hard. So that's what I did this week. It was fun. I like nerding out on performance stuff and parsers. And when I said maybe we need a better YAML parser, I was half wondering, should I go write it? And maybe loop Butcher in because he knows how to do this too. Wouldn't be the first time we did one. And that's it. Who else hasn't gone yet?
I don't think Michelle's gone. Did Michelle go? Did I just miss that somehow?
Way to listen to my stand-up.
I think I was busy trolling somebody or finding a link.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I went.
Have we not gone?
I think all the core people went. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Anybody? Sorry, I'm looking over. Okay, I'll shut up and throw it back to Taylor.
Okay, is there anyone else from the community who'd like to report on anything they're working on with Helm?
This is Josh. I have JWT validation and chart museum working on my laptop. So that plus the whole Helm push discussion, I started just writing a Helm push plugin that works with the OAuth flow. So that's all in progress, but nothing really to share yet.
Okay, thanks, Josh. I believe anyone else want to speak up before we move on to discussion? Okay, the only thing we had on the discussion thing right now was the question about cutting RC4 from master that Fisher had. Is there anyone else who wanted to add? Oh, Adam?
Oh, no, I just have comments on that.
Oh, me too, but I was going to let Fisher present it all before we start commenting and making his life hard like we made Farina's life hard.
I'll sit on my hands.
Okay, me too. Go ahead, Fisher.
All right, let me pull up. I'm just getting the release changes so then people are aware of what has changed or what is the difference between v290 RC3 and what's in master. So here is the link to that. So the discussion is mostly around, as we're going through the release process, there's been a lot of things since we've freeze the branch for the release. And it seems like there's a lot of value or there's a lot of features that have been released in there. And I know prior to the release candidate process, Adam and I, what we were doing is that every time that we were testing and doing it, we would just cut straight from master for testing these kind of things. But I fully understand the value of doing a release candidate and making the release candidates only testing them incrementally as we go out with a v290. So I was just wondering, what is the general feeling from the rest of the core maintainers on whether we should cut a release candidate 4 straight from master, or if we should continue to cherry pick specific fixes that we're finding with RC3 onto RC4 and continue with the 2.9 release. The only context that I just want to add here is that some users, when I've been saying that we're merging the PR into master, they've been asking when's the next time that we're going to, or when's the next release that we're going to be able to put this in. And I've had to tell them that basically it's not in 2.9 because of the current release, or because we've already cut the release candidates. So it'll be in 2.10. And it's been, I think the general pulse has been from the user community or from the community has been either they're somewhat okay with that or they're a little bit more on the upset side because they have to wait for their feature to be in a release branch. So that's just what I wanted to bring up and see if anyone had any opinions. And I see Frina, Adam, and Taylor. Hot potato to Adam first, I guess. And Michelle.
Yeah, the whole point of doing an RC release is because that is essentially what we are going to ship for a release. So if we start adding in extra features, we're going to break our Senver contract. And as much as it pains me to my OCD to say don't cut this next release from master, because that's what we've done every single time, I think we should actually cut this release from a release branch and then treat everything else as features into the next release. That's my opinion.
Okay, Farina or Michelle or Taylor?
So I'll jump because I unmuted before Taylor did. You said people who had opinions. Some of you saw that I tweeted out last Friday that in the previous month, there had been downloads of Helm from over 59,000 unique IP addresses in the previous month alone, right? And that's just from where we do it. That's not people building it themselves or getting it from Homebrew or any of that. That's just from our object storage where we ship it through. And so when we talk about a few people who are interested, or we've got some pulse of folks because we've talked to a handful of people, I'm reminded that there's this huge long tail of people who download and use Helm regularly. And so, I happen to agree with Adam that let's cut it from the release branch. Let's follow the semantics of what we say we're going to do, because if we pull in some other things, and we might pull in some other bugs with it that are being tested on the stability here, we're pretty sure, but we're not super sure. And let's follow along with just the semantics of it. So that way we have a good repeatable process and a known expectation, and we do things in a stable way, because we have a long tail of silent users who aren't engaged.
Okay, Michelle?
I was just gonna, I agree with Adam and Farina on this, and I'm not opposed to doing like a quick 2.10, within a few weeks. I just think we should continue making sure that the release candidate doesn't have new features that could possibly end up breaking other things, and then we would keep going on the RC cycle. And yeah, so that's it for me. Taylor?
Yeah, I was just going to agree and also just state, this is how a lot of software projects work. I mean, you try to get, if I were to submit something to Kubernetes right now, I don't think it would drop in there until 1.12 right now. If I submitted it today and got it approved today, it might not get to 1.12. And so what?
You're an optimist.
Exactly. And so I don't feel really bad making some people wait six weeks for a feature, which is generally about a release cadence. And honestly, we build a canary. So if somebody really needs the bleeding edge, they can use canary. And we try our best to keep that fairly stable. There might be some new things that might not work entirely, but for the most part, it's pretty stable. So I feel like we are pretty covered with that. So I think we just cut from the release branch, as much as it sometimes pains us, and continue forward like that.
All right, so it sounds like we're all in general agreement with that. I don't know if we have that actually codified in the contributing document or anything in the release process document when we actually switched over to release candidates. So maybe a good action item from this discussion is to put just a section in the documentation. I'll be happy to take this on as an action item. Would that be a good thing to do moving forward? So if people are asking about this, we can direct them to that expectation.
Do we have any verbiage on our Semver contract?
We have
it be in there.
I think we have verbiage on a Semver contract for sure. But I don't think we have verbiage on release contract or release candidate. And what does that entail?
Okay.
Well, a release candidate is part of Semver, right?
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I mean.
Okay. Yeah, I just
I mean, it might be something where we can just link to like the Semver documentation if people are confused, but
okay. Yeah, then that's totally fine then.
Yeah, I think putting together like kind of a template response to that makes sense. I think that that's what you were hinting at or talking about, Fisher. I'd be all for that, linking back to the Semper docs too.
Yeah, that's essentially what I'd be looking at is like, how do I respond to users that are asking for, like, this is not just the first time that people have been asking for that question. It's like, when is the timeline for this? When is the timeline for that? So I'd like to have like kind of a cookie cutter, what is the expectation between the release candidate and what is in master? And you can go ahead and try the canary or you can try the whatever. So that's all I was really looking for.
Yeah, should we add that to the FAQ?
Yeah, that would be a good place to put it, I think.
Oh, but you're also pointing to the contributing document, which is also a fine place.
Yeah. One of the two. Okay.
awesome. Thanks, for sure.
Yep, thank you. Is there anyone else who has any other discussion items they'd like to bring up? Wow, we are going to end on time. This is great. So let's get the assignments out. I think we're going to continue. Is anyone opposed to still having 2 PR Sherpas this week to help comb through stuff?
I think the queue is still relatively large, so I think it would still be good. We've actually seen some good activity and some features being merged in this last week. So I think that should be good until we're starting to cut down on the pull requests from like 75, I'd say, down to like 60 or 50 would be fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll have 2 PR Sherpas. So let's go ahead and first off, who would like to be the issue Sherpa for this week? Silence. I can't do it this week, or I would volunteer.
I can't do it either.
I will volunteer as tribute.
Thank you, Michelle. We need to have that GIF on like standby all the time for this section. Okay, PR Sherpas.
I'd be happy to take on PR Sherpa this week.
Okay. I'll do it for a day or two, but I can't volunteer to be a full-time PR Sherpa.
I can probably be a backup PR Sherpa, particularly.
I can help out too.
4 Sherpas!
I'm just going to put y'all down under part-time Sherpas.
We're like 2.5. We'll each count for a quarter. Let's see. Who would like to do notes next week in the meeting?
I'll volunteer.
Yay. And then, and the people rejoiced. Sorry, that's what I could think of when I have that moment. Moderator.
I can do that.
Okay,
I
awesome.
can moderate. Didn't you volunteer for something else?
Yeah.
That's true.
Okay.
Yeah, I can
Adam
do it.
Reese, you want to go? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stolen.
Gifted.
Okay, everyone, I think that is it. So everyone have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you all next week.
Re-gifted. Okay, bye.